All right. Well, thank you everyone for being here. My name is Jason St. Peter. I'm a member of the Berkshire Hills School Committee, as well as chair of the Mining Mountain Building Project. First of all, I want to thank you and welcome you all here. Again, just like we did with the live forum a couple weeks ago, we're really here tonight to give you information in hopes that we get your feedback on what you want to do regarding a high school going forward. We want to represent you, and it really can't be emphasized enough how much we want the community's input on what to do with Monument. I'm just going to give a really brief history as to how we got to this point, and then you've already seen and heard from Donna Denisco. Denisco Architects is going to update you on where we are now and what the process is going forward. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yep.
Yep, good. Okay, perfect. So as some of you know, Monument was built over 55 years ago in 1968. For the first 40 or so years, it served its purpose really well. I graduated from Monument in 1989, and it really was a fantastic experience all the way around. But like almost all of its contemporaries built in the 60s and 70s, it has really come to the end of its life cycle, both physically as well as educationally, and is in need of a significant overhaul or replacement. Um, this is not really a surprise. It's been going on all over the country, all over the state, even all over Berkshire County. Taconic and Pittsfield, Wacona, and Central Berkshire, built both around the same time as Monument, have been torn down and new school buildings have been built. Mount Greylock up in the North County has undergone a complete renovation as well as a significant addition. So, you see it going all around us. It's no surprise. This fact was actually recognized by the school committee 15 years ago before I was on the committee. Um, they partnered with the state, and a proposal was put forth for a significant renovation and addition. Unfortunately, this proposal was voted down by the voters twice, once 11 years ago and the other time 10 years ago. Since then, there's been many changes in the district, in hopes of, providing a school adequate for the students in our district for the next 50 years. One, there was been a vote to consolidate districts with Southern Berkshire District. Unfortunately, four of the five of their towns voted it down, while all three of Berkshire Hills towns voted for it. But at least we went down that avenue as far as we could. The other two things I really want to touch on that has changed significantly is one, the way new building projects will be financed in the district in the future has been changed. This is approved unanimously by all three towns, and it shifts the funding around in hopes of making passing a new project more successful. The second is that the educational model that the district uses has seen some really significant changes in the last decade. While we still realize the strong need to have a vibrant college prep curriculum, the district has made a concerted effort to emphasize the need for a thriving career, vocational, and technical education program as well. We're hoping that whatever the new monument looks like, both of these important tracks will be there for the students for the next 50 plus years. So after 10 years since the last no vote and many rejections, we were fortunate to be chosen again by the Massachusetts School Building Authority through a really highly competitive process to partner with them in finding our path forward. The MSBA is a public entity that's involved in the vast majority of new public school building projects in the state. And not only do they lend their expertise and experience, but they also, big news is they financially support a percentage of the approved project to the tune of millions and millions of dollars. So it's great to have their support. Now, just as a side note, the competition to get into this MSBA pipeline has really risen dramatically just since we were approved a few years ago. And we are really fortunate to get in when we did, because going forward, the competition is even more intense, and our odds are not very good to get in the pipeline anytime within decades, I would say, unfortunately. So after we were approved by the MSBA, a building committee was formed that included school committee members, administrators, community members, parents, teachers, students. This committee has been met several times over the last year, kind of laying the groundwork to where we are now. It's made two major hires. It's hired Skanska as our owner's project manager, and it's also hired Denisco Design, who has partnered with William Ron Associates as our architects. So I know Donna from Denisco Design is here. I'm not sure if Peter Dillon's on the call, but I think Rob Putnam, the assistant superintendent, is on the call to help answer any questions that people might have. I think Sam Lasky from William Ron is on the call. I did see Victoria Clifford from Skanska. I'm not sure if John Benzinger is here, but there's a whole crew from both the project manager team as well as the architect team in case any questions come up, and I'm sure they'll be giving their input. So with that going forward, I will pass it along to Donna and appreciate it.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Jason. I'm going to share my screen, but I'm not seeing it. So 1 minute. Technical difficulties. Another person that's with us tonight is my technical staff. And Brian, here it is. All right. So just a thumbs up. I think everyone can see this, which is great. So first of all, happy summer, everyone. Thank you all. I know you just finished school last Friday, so thank you for sticking around before you close your laptops and hopefully enjoy the summer. But we're at a really great point in the project, and we're excited to share with you and receive a lot of feedback more than anything, as Jason said, where we are with the process. Again, as Jason mentioned, you're extremely fortunate to be in the MSBA pipeline and have their support for your project. What is wonderful about them, they're a great financial partner, but they're actually an extremely thoughtful partner where their focus is to create and support cost-effective and educationally appropriate schools. And through their process, this will all come out. It's a very defined and prescribed process, and they break out their submissions and deadlines all around what they consider what they call modules. So you have formed the team. Here we are, and it's great to be here with you. And now we're in the feasibility stage. So the first part of the feasibility is called the preliminary design program, or the PDP. And we plan on submitting the PDP at the beginning of July to the MSBA. The PDP outlines your educational program and the space summary, which is the space requirements that you need for your high school. It documents your existing conditions, both the site and the building. It establishes the design parameters in which we will work with as we continue to develop the alternatives. And then to evaluate the alternatives as prescribed and required by MSBA. There are 3 paths that we have to study. One is option number 1, or alternative number 1, which is a code upgrade repair only. And we'll share that with you a little bit later. But that really has no educational benefit whatsoever. And it really is just to have as a benchmark that if you do nothing else, what would it cost just to bring the building up to code? Option 2, or alternative 2, or path 2, is to study a renovation and addition. It is a requirement, and even if the district chooses not to consider to pursue it, which they haven't yet, but MSBA requires us to fully evaluate a renovation and addition option through at the end of study. And then, of course, alternative 3, or option 3, is new construction. And just would really like to point out is that the various PDP alternatives are intended to be an analysis of the educational benefits and relative costs between the alternatives. It's not meant to be the actual cost of the project, which is an important distinction at this phase. As I mentioned, the educational program is paramount, and it really drives the design. So the educational program, which was approved by the school committee at the beginning of the month, identifies all the programs to be offered within the new, we're saying new in quotations, Monument Mountain. It identifies all the programs that you offer district-wide. It identifies the programmatic spatial relationships and adjacencies. We'll talk a little bit more about that later. And then the program defines your space needs, which then translates to the overall gross square footage and size of your school. We have spent a lot of time making sure that we fully understand your educational program, the needs associated with those programs. And we have this chart here that organizes your program needs based on the categories prescribed by MSBA. The first column under existing conditions is what you currently have to serve the same number of students, 485. What the proposed program is looking like at this point, and then what MSBA guidelines are. So just to quickly go through this, I know we've shared it before, but it's really important, especially at this phase in the project. Your core academic spaces are all of your general classrooms, your science classrooms, your academic support spaces. And you'll see we're slightly over pretty much at MSBA guidelines because MSBA does not automatically include ESL, academic support, or programs such as Bright. Special education, MSBA just puts a percentage of the number of students. They have a formula, and they're saying approximately 5,000 square feet or net floor area, which is the space within the building and the space, like your classroom space area. But MSBA does not review your special education needs. The Department of Elementary and Secondary Education actually spends time reviewing and approving your special education needs. And these are all outlined in detail throughout your educational program. Other categories such as art and music, those are prescribed by MSBA. And they're saying that with 485 students, your needs should be approximately 5,125 square feet. You have a robust art and music program, and your requirements are slightly higher than MSBA's guidelines. And so to be on the conservative side, we're identifying the extra space of about 575 square feet as something that MSBA will allow, but they might not participate in. Your vocation and technology programs are unbelievable. And what you do for these kids with both non-Chapter 74 and Chapter 74 programs is amazing. MSBA, because this is a comprehensive high school, MSBA does not automatically assume that those programs exist in every school. So MSBA, actually DESE, Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, along with MSBA, will make sure that these programs currently exist, that they meet the Chapter 74 programming requirements, and we anticipate there'll be no issues with them accepting all of your space needs. The health and PE space, actually, you'll see there's a slight reduction in MSBA guidelines here. That's because we're confident that the overall square footage of the size of your existing gym, recognizing you need a new gym, but the size of it itself supports all of your programming needs, including your athletics and after-school programs. So everyone is being extremely cost-conscious to make sure that we're not overbuilding and that we're providing everything that you need. The library or media center will meet MSBA guidelines. And then the auditorium is such an important community asset, both to the school and then the surrounding area, that right now the goal is to request from MSBA a slightly larger auditorium that will support your needs. And again, to be conservative, we'll assume that MSBA will not participate financially in the extra large auditorium, but they'll support you to actually build it. All the other programs or categories such as dining and food service, nurse or medical, administration, guidance, and custodial, all are within MSBA guidelines. So there is a net program area or total program area of about 98,700. And then the gross square footage is somewhere around 142,000 square feet. Well, you'll see that we've identified the greenhouse. We've separated that out slightly right now because we're thinking that maybe we can use a Future Farmer of America grant or some other way to fund that program so that, or fund the construction of the greenhouse so that it might reduce the costs. So right now we're looking at approximately 142,000 square feet, of which we're trying to be conservative to say MSBA will probably not participate in about 3,100 square feet. And as I mentioned, the eligible program spaces are unique to every district, and that MSBA will review these space needs based upon your educational program. That also applies to vocation and your voc tech programs. And Department of Elementary and Secondary Education will review your special education as well as the Chapter 74 programs. So as I mentioned, other categories that I've highlighted, if they exceed MSBA guidelines, the district would be responsible for the full cost of those areas. Going back to what's driving the project is that the education. And so we've really spent a lot of time talking and asking through visioning sessions, meeting with all of the staff at Monument Mountain, as well as the district leadership, what the educational priorities are. So without going through every bullet here, it's safe to say that it's really important that the school is safe and welcoming to all, that it integrates special education as well as vocational and academic integration. Integration of special education programs are equally important. The school and the educational program needs to be flexible, as we've all seen over the years, how education shifts and changes. Another aspect would be collaborative learning and social emotional learning, which we've all learned over the past 4 or 5 years, how critically important that is. Vocational opportunities, visual arts, music, and performing arts are just an amazing programs that you offer, athletics, wellness, and then having robust technology to accommodate all of your programming. And then again, thinking about beyond 12th grade, after school programming would be great to take advantage of. Some programming priorities, again, are very similar. The integration of vocation and academic as well as special education. You've already begun to create 9th and 10th grade academies. So as we think about how we lay out the building, that will be critically important. Project-based learning, making sure the building is going to be flexible to accommodate changing programs over the years, as well as making it a safe and welcoming place to be, as well as community use after school hours. We also asked the school building committee and through visioning sessions what the project goals are. So beyond education, what are the top priorities for the overall project? And you'll see here that cost just comes up over and over again. It needs to be a sound investment, but it must also align with your values, right? Daylighting of views is so important, not only for the project, but for academic and health and wellness of the students and staff, that of course the building needs to be as flexible and adaptable as possible. The connection between programs was critical. Sustainability is really important, and it becomes more and more important throughout the Commonwealth. And then again, making sure that this is an asset that the entire community can enjoy. So here's the existing, we call it the campus. I'm sure you all do too, even though the campus is divided by Monument Valley Road and then the steep topography leading up to Monument Mountain itself. We really see this as a beautiful campus where there's so much collaboration, integration between all students from kindergarten through grade 12. So we didn't want to lose sight of that when we started thinking about, okay, where might we think about placing a new school on the site? And it was just really important to always stay grounded to this campus environment. At our last community forum and through many conversations with the building committee, several options have been, or locations for new construction have been eliminated. But if you have questions, we weren't going to get into them tonight, but if you have questions about them, feel free to ask, or the previous presentations are also available on the website. So we looked at as many possible places as we possibly could on where we might be able to locate a new school. You'll see we've eliminated all but 2 new school options, E and H, for many various reasons. And then, of course, we'll continue to explore renovation addition, which is letter D. We would like to first say, though, that even though you're in the MSBA pipeline, which is really an amazing opportunity for everyone, the school department has not stopped investing in the existing school. The list, as you'll see here, without reading through every single item, these are items that have been addressed over even just the past 5 years. And then it has obviously occurred since the last failed vote. So it's really important to recognize that investments are continue to be made within the existing building, everything from safety and security to portions of the mechanical system that are either repaired or need to be, that have been upgraded. Lighting has been upgraded both interior and on the site. Academic or program related improvements have continued to be addressed as well. And then even items such as you'll see probably this summer is that there's the greenhouse barn structure at the bottom of the hill will be replaced this summer. Other areas that you might not necessarily see, but furniture, fixture, and equipment upgrades to accommodate flexible teaching and learning, but also for accessibility and custodial needs have been invested in the building. And then significant amount of site improvements have occurred, from the tennis courts and the track, some drainage that's need to be addressed. The early childhood program playground structure is new, and then ongoing driveway parking and parking lot repairs and striping occurs on a regular basis. But we recognize that these items are what are required to continue to maintain the building. But as Jason said, the building has served you well and it's at its end of its useful life. What we've done is we've spent time working with the district to identify all of the repair projects that will be required if the project does not move forward. You have project descriptions, everything from your mechanical systems, roof, windows, plumbing, your power, which is your generator, and other requirements, communication and security, which doesn't include updating your access controls and it updates your access controls, but you'll still have as many doors and access into the building throughout. Flooring needs to be replaced. And then, of course, as everyone sees, the exterior cleaning and repairs. So based on 2025 dollars, the cost of construction to do all of these repair projects is approximately $60 million. It's a significant investment in an outdated facility. But that doesn't stop there, unfortunately. So there are code requirements where this says MAAB, Mass Architectural Access Board, or our Accessibility Board. If repairs exceed 30% of the assessed value of a facility, the building must then be brought up to full accessibility compliance. So that is approximately $7.4 million. And then there's another code requirement that states that if your cost of repairs over a 5-year period exceeds 33% of the assessed value, that the building then needs to be fully sprinklered. So when you add up all of these costs, you'll see that it's approximately a $70 million investment. And these are just the construction costs for just maintaining and keeping the building up and functioning. With those costs, what isn't addressed are the educational deficiencies, the issues with the traffic flow and safety in and out of the site, the security challenges with all the doors that you currently have. It doesn't address the indoor environmental quality or air quality within the building. And then, of course, you'll continue to have classrooms without windows. Other considerations or factors to consider would be the disruption to staff and students for each repair and upgrade. How you would be able to achieve these repairs when the school has to be fully occupied. And then the cost of escalation over multiple years. You wouldn't be able to go in and do all of this work all at one time. The dollars that I was sharing with you were based on 2025. And then, of course, this would be fully borne by the district and the communities. We know it's a lot of money. And I'm sure everyone has experienced the spike of escalation, whether it's through your home, buying a new car, or even at the grocery store. Here's a kind of trends of where we are with school construction costs. Back in 2010, right, costs were slightly under $300 a square foot, and MSBA was able to keep pace with construction and escalation for many years. And then the cost of construction continued to increase year over year, and it really spiked around the COVID era in 2020. And you can see what you're looking at this chart is the green line is MSBA's contribution to construction, and the orange line, which might be a little bit hard to read with all the squares, the orange squares, those are all the projects that MSBA has funded over the years. And the red dotted line is the trajectory of the cost of construction. So we understand it's overwhelming, but this is the unfortunate reality of school construction costs. As an example, Belchertown Middle School is estimated, it's a middle school, not a high school with vocational programs related to it, is approximately $888 a square foot with a bid date of next summer. So you can see that the inflation and labor trends points continue to rise. And while the numbers are starting to level off, so we're not seeing those crazy spikes like we did in 2020, the costs we don't anticipate coming down. So we did a cost analysis based on many alternatives. So we looked at an alternative one, which was the co-repair, which we are required to do by MSBA. And you'll see what's in blue running across the top are the construction subtotals. The alternative one of code repairs really would require portable classrooms to be on site. There's no way that we'd be able to do the work with every single wing of the school being completely occupied during the construction. So we've identified costs for portable classrooms. And then there, of course, are soft costs such as fees, construction oversight, contingencies, furniture and fixture and equipment, technology, that estimates, it's a percentage of the construction total. So your total project budget is, 2/3 down of approximately $115 million just to repair the building. MSBA has stated that they have never had a project that is a core project like yours be accepted or have approved a code repair only, because it does not meet the educational needs of your building. You were brought into this into the MSBA pipeline not only because of your building deficiencies, but also the deficiencies for your programs. So MSBA has never supported a code repair upgrade only. So your share would be approximately $115 million. We also started thinking about, okay, how can we effectively renovate the building and try to utilize as much as possible to keep the costs down? Similar to alternative one, a minor addition, renovating the entire building and using as much as possible, still would not afford us the flexibility to be able to do the work without portable classrooms. Your project cost would be approximately $154 million. And MSBA's grant, again, because this would not meet your educational program, would be pretty much zero. And so your share you would be responsible for the entire cost of alternative 2A. We looked at alternative 2B, which is getting closer to meeting your educational program. There certainly are some negative impacts, or doesn't fully meet your educational program, but it's pretty close. But again, needed portable classrooms to support the construction. This would be approximately $168 million. We anticipate MSBA would accept this, this alternative 2B because it almost meets all of your needs, which would bring you down to approximately $112 million district share. We then started saying, okay, we're spending money in portable classrooms. We're still going to be maintaining this building. It doesn't meet all of our spatial relationships, all the connections, all of those educational and project goals that we just outlined. So let's just focus on the three remaining options, which would be a full renovation addition to the point where we could build an addition. We'll get into that later, that we could move students in so that we're not spending money on portable classrooms. The overall project budget's approximately $174 million, with MSBA share around $53 million. So the district share is in the range of $120 million. All of the addition renovations do require what we're calling a construction manager at risk delivery method. We need a partner to be involved at the very beginning, even during design, to help us determine how we're going to phase this, how we're going to be able to maintain an existing building while building new, tying all the systems together, and then demolishing the building. It's really critical to have a construction manager as part of our team for the addition renovations. But with new construction, it's a very seamless and separate process, right? We can build totally independent of your existing school without disrupting everything that goes on at the school. And so we're saying we don't necessarily need a construction manager to help us with that. Our documents are excellent. We do this all the time. And that the path of a general contractor that is a hard bid, or they bid solely on price, is more than acceptable. And that comes with the savings. So you'll see there's a CM column and a GC column. So for the two remaining new school options, we're looking at approximately $150 million or $140 million for a general contractor, with a project cost of approximately $168 million. With MSBA's participation, the district share is approximately $116 million. And then the other alternative, alternative H, which was the other remaining area on site, is very similar. In fact, we could say they're almost identical at this point because we haven't really fully developed or gotten into them. These are all relative costs. So about the same cost for construction, about $142 million with MSBA's participation. You'll see the cost for alternative 3H of approximately $120 million. So that's where we are with the overall project cost. We don't know what that translates to for taxpayers yet. We're working on that. But for now, this is really just to evaluate each option to each other to see which has the most value and which options meet your program and educational goals to continue to develop them further. So I'm going to stop talking and turn it over to Jeff.
Great, thanks, Donna. Good evening, everyone. So we wanted to share some additional detail on those alternatives that remain under consideration. And you can see on your screen now one potential site plan for the alternative 2C, and that's the major addition renovation. The existing building is shown in white, kind of at the center of the image there, and that contains approximately 90,000 square feet of renovated building. And that includes the gym, the locker rooms, and obviously the major complex spaces like the auditorium and the cafeteria remain renovated inside the building in their current locations. There are also several areas shown with that kind of diagonal hatch lines, and those represent the building additions. And the most important one here is the one towards the top of your page. This is a one-story, approximately 45,000 square foot addition. And as Donna mentioned, by completing this large addition in the first phase of the project, it will allow for the school to move in after completion and then to utilize that as the swing space instead of buying modular classrooms, which are then just demolished at the end of the project. And there's a red line towards the right-hand side of your screen, which shows some area of the building to be demolished. And this does two things. It allows for some of those existing windowless classrooms to gain access to the building perimeter for access to daylighting and views. And it also allows us some breathing room up there at the top of the hill that could allow for construction of an addition for the agriculture program to be brought up from the bottom of the hill up to the main building and take advantage of that southern sunlight on the south side of the building. There's also a small addition to the north, and that can contain a new building entrance and administration area. And the site design, looks similar to the aerial photograph. It remains similar to the existing conditions. The site will get upgrades to meet MAB and ADA compliance, and various repairs could be done to the infrastructure and roadways. The driveway, the drop-off loop, and the parking lots would be able to be reused, which is a huge advantage to this. And there could also be an access drive created around the south of the building, you see, to access the agriculture program and also new CVTE spaces in the addition and to provide access to emergency vehicles. And all of the areas of the site outside this area remain intact, including the playfield, tennis courts, etc. And this is an aerial view of a massing model created to show this alternative, almost if you were hanging in a hot air balloon over Stockbridge Road. As you can see, the proposed building looks pretty similar from Stockbridge Road with that addition off to the east there. And this is a proposed floor plan of the major addition. The large public spaces that currently exist in the 1968 building remain. The gym is shown in red, the auditorium to the right of it in blue, and kind of the cafeteria in its location to the west of the building all remain as is. The remainder of the building is an integration of the core academic spaces and the special education spaces in purple, and then also the CVTE programs are represented in teal. And this alternative would eliminate all of the interior and landlocked classrooms and offices, and then all of the CVTE spaces would be sized to meet the educational program. And there's an area in light green there to the left of your screen, and that's that proposed addition for the administration area. That would create a new main office and a building entry to create a single secure point of arrival located towards the existing parking lot. Obviously, that building remains in its existing location and maintains the same connection with the elementary school and middle school. This is that building location 3E, which is the first alternate of new construction. And this proposes the construction of a new 142,000 square foot school on the hill to the west of the existing building, where the drop-off loop is now. And after the new school building is completed, the existing building would be demolished and the remaining site work completed. All of the site features here, including exactly how vehicle pickup and drop-off works, pedestrian access works interior to the site, and then how emergency vehicles and service vehicles access to the site will all continue to be developed. And that's along with any site amenities such as play areas and new fields, etc. A significant
Jeff,
advantage to this.
Sorry,
yes.
Jeff, I'm sorry. I just saw someone was saying it was kind of hard to hear you. I don't know if you could just speak a little louder. I'm not sure.
Okay. An advantage to this alternative is we could reuse the parking lot up to the north of the building. It doesn't really require us to build new infrastructure deeper into the site. A new building at this location would also not interfere with the use of the track and athletic fields during construction. However, that informal practice field at the bottom of the hill would need to be relocated to provide space for the contractor to build the building. And careful planning would make sure that the existing school can operate exactly as is with limited disruption during construction. This is a massing model from that same vantage point above Stockbridge Road that really shows the presence of building a new building out closer to the road. This is an initial diagram of the main floor of that proposed school, which will be further developed as the project progresses. The building itself would be 3 stories and kind of built into the hill. The new main entrance and large public spaces such as the gym and auditorium would be accessed from the east, and this would provide efficient circulation off the parking lot and athletic field. And similar to the addition renovation concept, there's an integration of the core academic spaces, special education spaces shown in purple, and then those CVTE spaces shown in teal. A lower level would be built into the hill, creating opportunities for outdoor learning and gathering. And this level could contain the cafeteria, CVTE spaces such as the early childhood program and woodshop, and then also provide service access to the building from this level. An upper floor would create a potential 9th and 10th grade academy that Donna mentioned, and other general academic spaces. And the building at this location takes advantage of those views out to Monument Mountain and also maintains the proximity to the other schools in the district and for a real presence on Stockbridge Road. So we'll continue to evaluate and develop this alternative through the next phase of the project.
Thanks, Jeff. This is a new school building planned for Site H. Like Site E, it's the same program, 142,000 gross square feet. You can see the main block of the building faces what would be a new field and new parking on the existing school site. The academic portion of the building, which you'll see in a moment in the floor plans, follows the arc of the entry road where there might be early childhood education drop-off, play area. Service road would wrap around the building and serve the servery, wood shop, and other building support spaces on that side of the building. During construction, the tennis courts would be used as a laydown area, so those would be refinished following the project. And this is built on the existing school parking lot. So during construction, a new temporary lot would be built at the base of the hill. Certainly some of the parking area that's right in front of the school on the top of the hill could be expanded to you could have some cars up there during construction. When we move to the floor plan or the model, so this shows the massing. You can see that what I'm calling the academic wing following the arc of the roadway is 3 stories. There are other ways of arranging the school where it could be 2 stories facing Route 7. And the block on the other side of the building shows the auditorium gym, which you'll see in a moment. This allows that side of the building to be, open on weekends or after hours, separating that part of the program from the classrooms for ease of use by the community off hours. Floor plan, the main entry is off of parking right there at the corner of the field. And in this arrangement of program spaces, you'd walk right into the cafeteria. The main office is there, of course. The auditorium shown in blue and the gym in red. And we worked to integrate vocational spaces with the academic spaces. So throughout these plans, you'll see, as in Scheme E, the purple spaces intermixed with the green vocational spaces. Automotive is shown in the upper right, and some other performing arts programs make up that end of the building. Somewhat ideal with the location of the gym and the locker rooms in proximity to the fields on the east side of the building. The greenhouse, of course, is just off the bottom of the page there with a southern exposure. These are the upper floors. Second floor has a library. Again, there'd be one of the grades on the second floor with art spaces, perhaps advanced manufacturing on that level. And then on the third floor, would be enough classrooms, special education spaces for 2 grades. In this scheme, as in with Scheme E, the special ed spaces are intermixed with the general education classrooms. I'll hand it back to Donna.
Sorry. Yeah, thanks. I couldn't get my mouse there. So ultimately, these are concepts that we are continuing to evaluate. And we're getting really excited. We had these physical models that really gives you a sense of scale to your existing building. But for the preliminary design program, which we'll again be submitting in July, the goal of that wasn't to select an option or an alternative. It really is to identify your educational program and space requirements, as Jeff and Andy even alluded to as we were laying out the building, where these programs are related to each other based on your educational goals, right? Always bringing it back to education. We want to finalize a traffic analysis study. We understand that any solution really needs to address the traffic congestion and issues that occur of everyone coming out onto Stockbridge Road. It established the design parameters. And then the building committee would like to continue to explore the renovation addition option and both new construction options. Again, the costs are not pick one over the other. It really is just to show comparatively how one compares to the other. And we want your input tonight. It really would be helpful to hear from you all. No decisions are being made. We're just going to let MSBA know that we want to continue to explore these options. Once we submit the preliminary design program, we're going to continue to evaluate the options. We'll have updated costs that will be more real than this cost comparative. It will be similar, but we'll at least have a lot more information, and that we'll be able to have some hard numbers that we'll feel comfortable with weighing each of the remaining options that still remain. We will be back before you in the fall before any final decision or solution is selected. But by October, the goal is to select and recommend the most cost-effective and educationally appropriate solution so that we can submit that solution to MSBA in October. So where does that bring us? Our PDP submission, we'll be back to talk to you in the fall. Your feedback's really important. We'll make sure that we address any questions or concerns you may have as we continue to refine these options. We'll continue to study all the remaining options with a submission to MSBA in October for the board to approve us to move forward with our preferred solution in December. So we will be then focusing on one solution, and we will develop it. It's called schematic design from December of 24 through June of 25. We'll submit the schematic design submission to MSBA in July of 25, 1 year from now, guys. And then the town, the MSBA will vote to approve moving forward with local funding for August of 25. And then right now, the goal is to have the local town votes for project approval in the fall of 25. Do want to note, big shout out, Victoria. We do, the website is live, monumentbuildingproject.org. It is updated continuously. All presentations are up there. Any frequently asked questions are always up there. So feel free to check in every once in a while. You can sign up for the project newsletter that will be rolling out and keep you informed as the project evolves. So we're done talking, and thank you for your patience. We really would love to hear from you. We have just a few housekeeping notes. There's a little hand raise button. I'm sure everyone's probably familiar with it by now. So please raise your hand and we'll call on you. Or if you would like, you can post your questions in the chat. When you do, please state your name. And then our goal, hopefully we have a lot of input, a lot of comments. So we're going to just request that it's a 3-minute time limit for discussion. So I will maybe just leave it on this slide for now, and we can always bring up additional slides as needed as your questions are asked. I don't think we have any questions in the chat right now. Brian, I'm going to ask you to monitor the hand raising. Feel free to just advance people or unmute them. There was some questions earlier. There was a question about, are we going to be able to save or preserve what's inside the building or stuff? Our goal is to salvage and bring with us any furniture, fixtures, and equipment, such as, example is the CNC machines and laser cutters, stuff that you've just recently invested in, that we can bring those over to the new school. So we'll be doing a complete inventory of everything that is in the existing school and what can be brought over to the new school. Oh, people should be able to unmute themselves to ask their questions. If you want to just go for it. Someone, Ruby, asked about sustainability considerations, the orientation for solar panels, maximum use of daylight and use of heat pumps. So yes, 100%. We actually have a sustainability subcommittee, and we've already started engaging with Mass Save, understanding that there are statewide incentives and programs available to us. But beyond that, we're always looking to make sure that we have the classrooms at a minimum with the proper solar orientation of north-south, so that we can control the sun as best as we possibly can. We also plan on making sure that we strategically locate the equipment that will go on the roof so that we can maximize solar panels on the roof. And there's always conversation about putting solar panels in the parking lot. We will look at what it would take for us to be a net zero energy or net zero energy ready. That will be really important. And then I think there was a question about the heat pumps. So we are considering ground source heat pumps. Those are not included in the costs currently because we just wanted to have a baseline of what a renovation, addition, and new construction would be. But we will be evaluating that as it relates to new construction because there's opportunities for ground source heat pumps with the new construction options and taking advantage of incentives that go along with them. Vivian, do you have your hand up? Would you like to?
Yes, please. Hi.
Thank you. Hi.
Excellent presentation. I learned a lot, even though I've heard some of it before. But one question that hasn't come up in what I heard and saw before or tonight was just kind of passed over was the whole issue of a cafeteria and kitchen. And yet food has been getting more and more attention as so essential to students' ability to learn, to their social and emotional needs. And also it can be related to the CVTE program in concerning food and agriculture and horticulture. So I'd like to know, and I'd appreciate any information you could provide about discussing those provisions. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Vivian. Our apologies. The cafeteria and the kitchen, especially at Monument Mountain, are so vitally important, not only for the nutrition of the students, but what it could be as we can tie into the horticulture program and maybe even some others. Our goal and one of the educational goals or priorities are to have the cafeteria just be celebrated and be part of the entry and have such a visible presence that this will be used in the morning, it can be used during the day, it can be used in the evening. So each option addresses that in different ways, but our apologies because it is a really big, important function of the school, both educationally, programmatically, and then for the health and well-being of the students. There's some comments in the chat, but I'm going to see Rebecca raised her hand. Rebecca, would you like to?
There you are. Just shouting up the stairs. You're muted, Rebecca. You're muted. I was saying thank you so much, and this has just been so wonderful and informative. And I wonder, have there been thoughts shared or explored around becoming a full-service community school in conjunction with the rebuild for several reasons? One of which all the additional funding available for community schools, but also obviously the evidence behind the effect on learning and attendance and student mental health.
I am going to defer that to the district. I don't know if anyone can speak to that.
I guess I'll take a stab at it. We have had conversations in terms of and I don't know if you're talking about our CVTE programming and the offering of like courses to adults in the evening. Is that part of what the question is?
Well, so the community school model it's been adopted by about, I think, 10,000 schools across the country, right? So it was bringing a lot of our community services into the school. and it looks different in every district, but it can be everything from, yes, like having a satellite office of a community college in the schools so that students within the school can attend classes there. It can also include mental health services located within the school, sometimes a laundromat. It's really depending upon the community, but with, you know, communities do it differently, but with the opportunity to tie something like that into a rebuild, it seems like such an incredible opportunity to share costs with community-based organizations, but also bring some of our community services into the high school, and in terms of like really utilizing the spaces. And there's just so much federal funding for schools adopting the community school model right now, so it's a could be a potential cost savings as well.
So thank you for the additional information. I just will share that we have had quite a lot of conversation about how this building is not just a building for the high school students, but for the community at large. So anything we can do to continue to look at how we better integrate with the community, it will be a beneficial step for us to take. And I think we've had some of those conversations, but you've raised a few points that I don't think we've discussed. So I do appreciate that.
Awesome. Thank you. And it's exciting. Yeah. We're doing a lot. It sounds like a lot of the work is actually happening already. So there's so much funding for what's being done if it falls under the model of the five, you know, the 4 pillars of a community school. So I will just reach out offline and I can share some stuff with you.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. That's great. Thank you. Jennifer?
Hi there. Wonderful presentation, as was the last one. I'm wondering if in the next presentation, when we have to go through this, and perhaps also as you work with the school board, is there some way in one or a series of slides where we can see the 3 concepts and compare them in one, so that we can look at them in one space rather than sequentially?
Sure. That makes a lot of sense, right? It's kind of hard for you to go back and forth, but excellent, excellent suggestion. Thank you. Paul? Can you unmute, Paul? Your hand is raised. Looks like you're trying to. There you
go. A question about, I seem to recall a figure or something like 31,000 square feet that the building, school building would not fund, but would allow. Is that correct?
No, 3,100, 3100.
Well, what does that number represent then?
So the areas that MSBA would allow, meaning they'll let you build a larger auditorium, but they just won't financially participate with that. So can you see the screen? This is yes, what this represents. Yes. So your core academic spaces, special education would, as long as you currently offer these and they're identified in the educational program, there's no concern that MSBA would fund anything over their guidelines. That would also apply to the vocation technology or CDTE spaces. Areas such as the art and music, right? You have an amazing, robust art program. In fact, currently have 3 classrooms for art. And we have looked at the schedule and have figured out how you can still offer the same offerings or same programs with 2 art rooms. MSBA really only supports 1. So that would be a slightly over MSBA guidelines of approximately 575 square feet. The other area that exceeds MSBA guidelines is the auditorium. You currently have a beautiful, well, a very large auditorium of over 5,000 square feet, and it serves the community amazingly, right? And so instead of just staying within MSBA guidelines, I apologize. Instead of staying within MSBA guidelines, the building committee and school department felt it was really an important and valuable resource that we wanted to increase the square footage of the auditorium to 4,500. So that's in excess of 1,495 net floor area or square footage. So that's yeah.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but I'm just
That's
looking
okay.
at the number for the CBTE, the vocational, and we are quite a large amount over the MSBA guidelines. How does that translate into cost that we have to absorb without their participation?
We anticipate they will support your educational program, and that includes the CBTE spaces, including the Chapter 74 programs. In fact, Department of Elementary and Secondary Education actually reviews them to make sure that they meet their guidelines, which unfortunately you currently don't do given your existing conditions, right? So we do not anticipate that being an issue whatsoever, no different than your core academic or your special education needs. So we really, we see the auditorium and a little portion of the art room to be the full responsibility of the district or the towns.
Well, just one further question. I noticed that the number of people that have attended this tonight is around 50. Which is a rather insignificant number compared to the people who would be eligible to vote on this. What kind of plans are being made to get this out to more people?
Thank you.
Is that not a question I should ask?
No. We love it, and thank you. And feel free to also tell your friends and neighbors and everyone that you know about that this is out there. We are actually have a community outreach committee. Victoria, would you mind just touching on this for a quick sec?
Yeah, of course. So,
okay.
Hi, this is Victoria Witskanska. So we do have an outreach subcommittee that meets bi-weekly, and this is a main focus for that group. How do we get the word out on the project, get people engaged? So this is our second community forum. Unfortunately, well, tonight the participation is a lot better than we received on our first one. I think this time of year is just a little tough, you know, with a lot of community events going on and at just end of school year. But this fall, we're hoping to get a lot more attendance for our forums, get advertising out for those through more media outlets. We had an ad in your circular for this one in particular, but we're planning to work with local radio and other resources, try to get the word out more. Of course, as more of the community members are starting to attend, we hope that you tell your neighbors and get the word out. We have our project website with all of our information up there, and future meetings are going to be posted there. And we're also planning to come out to different community events, go to each community, like for example, potentially different senior centers, and go give presentations to those groups and smaller groups directly instead of just hosting a general forum like this. So that's kind of some strategies that we're working on. We also have, I think Rebecca Goldis and John are on. They're our co-chairs of the outreach group, and they can always jump in as well if they have anything to add. But yeah, this is a main focus for us to hope to get the word out. And I hope that in the fall that we'll see a larger attendance.
Well,
Yeah.
just one thing to say is that you've got to go, and I thought I was on that committee, but maybe not. You've got to go to where the people are. You can't expect the people to come to you. That was one of the things that doomed the last several votes. So that's just a suggestion.
Thank you. No, that's extremely helpful, and that has been a real big discussion point and push with the outreach subcommittee, and that we do, whether it's going to soccer games or fairs or activities or farmers markets or whatever you have, that we are trying to mobilize a great group of local people that will assist us in making sure we get the word out. A little
Anna.
less, yeah.
Rob Putnam has his hand up.
Oh, great, Rob. Sorry.
Thank you. Yes, I wanted to add on to what Victoria had been saying. Peter has been working with a woman named Sheila Clary on a communication plan for this and other issues for the district. And it's basically basically Peter and the central office administration are taking coming up with a plan to address some of the things Paul was mentioning, is to bring this information to as many places where we can, so that the community is aware of what's going on, and we can eventually have more people participating in events such as this in preparation for what the eventual vote in the fall of 25.
Thanks, Rob.
Pleasure,
Thank you,
Paul.
Rob.
Good to see you.
Donna, would you like me to read some of the questions that have been coming in the chat?
Yeah, sure. So thank you. I see, yeah, I see some of them.
I'm happy to
for it.
read them to you.
Yep,
So
that'd be great. Go for it.
Sharon Gregory asked, it seems the CVTE parts would be on the first floor due to heavy machinery movement. And she also asked if there are new classrooms in the middle school being included in the high school.
So we have been, let me just see if I can find I'm going to go, it's easier to see H. So we're taking into consideration, for example, for the CVTE programs, heavy machinery use, high bay needs, right? There are certain programs that require double height or larger than typical single story height spaces, such as automotive, and obviously the horticulture for the greenhouse and stuff. So we have been very thoughtful about where those could be placed. These floor plans do not represent what the ultimate or final location of the programs will look like. Hopefully we're getting really close to that, but this isn't the final. But we do have to take into consideration not only the heavy machinery movement, but we also have to think about the public facing programs that also require storefront, so to speak. So the automotive, right? They have they service community cars, community members' cars. So that needs to be on the first floor. The early childhood program has parents dropping off their students every morning and picking up every afternoon. So we want to be mindful where we strategically locate that program. Some of the other programs aren't as critical. The woodwork and carpentry, that too requires kind of first floor with access for deliveries and things like that. So we've been working really closely with Christy and her whole team about where each of these programs really need to be in the building and the connections between other programs, which would be ideal. I'm not familiar with the new classrooms in the middle school, so I don't know if there's anyone else that could speak to that.
Yeah, I didn't quite understand that part of the question. So if Sharon would like to add anything to the chat to help clarify that, maybe we could answer that part of the question. I'm going to move on to the next one. JLW asked, did I hear you say that the traffic concerns will be addressed no matter which plan we go forward with?
Yeah, our goal is to address the traffic concerns. We've already started studying how we could do that. Each option or alternative may have a different outcome, but our goal is to come up with a better, safer solution than you currently have now.
Okay, Rachel Siegel. She says, in preparing to advocate for new construction, it will be helpful to know when taxpayers will know the amount of tax increases. Do you know when that will be?
Thank you. Yes, we recognize that's a critical and important piece that we do not have right now. We are working on that, and hopefully we'll have something in the fall that will address that concern. We understand it's great that we know what the overall cost to the district is, but what does that mean to each individual person? So we're working on that.
All right, and Dan McMahon, sorry, agrees that a community school model is worth exploring, especially due to the cost of infrastructure, the need to prepare students for the workforce, and general use for all residents. So thank you, Dan, for those comments. We have Jennifer Clark suggesting press releases in addition to ads for distribution in the Eagle Edge and Shopper's Guide and other outlets every couple of weeks for the next 2 months prior to the next meeting. And I think Sharon has now responded. She might have misunderstood. She thought she had alluded to lower classes being added to the new building. And yeah, I think that was a misunderstanding.
I see Patrick with his hand up. Patrick White.
Hey, how are you? Nice presentation. I guess I have a reality check question. So I was on the RSDPB for 3 years, and we were looking at a model where the MSBA was 53 million, and the net cost to the taxpayers was around 45 million, I believe. This is a year ago, so it's off the top of my head. And now the MSBA is 53 million, and the net cost to taxpayers, if I just saw it right, is almost 130 million. At Stockbridge, where I'm a selectman, has about 100 kids in the school district. And of that, once again, these numbers are a year old, but I believe it was 65 in 7 through 12 and 31 in 1 through 6. And when you start to look at the per pupil cost of a tripling of what the expected, taxpayer burden is in an environment of declining enrollment, I guess my question, if I have one, is it strikes me that the most compelling part of this project is the desperate need for vocational in South County. And I don't know if there's going to be the political will to get this done in this model. And I'm hoping that the school committee strongly pursues looking at vocational options for this site and other options for what we do in a South County environment where there's such significant decline in enrollment. I mean, I've been supporting this project for as long as I can remember, but I just feel like politically this may be a really heavy lift. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't see anyone else in the chat. Did I answer people's prior to this just to make sure?
Jennifer is just asking if someone can summarize Patrick's comments.
Patrick, my understanding of what you were saying is perhaps consider additional CBT options to be explored.
No, maybe consider CBT vocational only options at this site and look at the reality that the idea that you're going to have $40,000 pupil overhead for the school may not be tenable for the taxpayers. We've had a problem passing this in some of the towns in the past, and I understand that construction costs. This is nobody's fault. The construction costs have gone up, but it's really critically important that everybody brings forward a proposal that we can get vocational done. And for the rest of the academics, we have other options in South County, and I think that we should take a hard look at whether that makes any sense for South County, because it's great if we can get it done. I just don't know we can get it done.
So you would be that you're referring to the comprehensive high school students.
Yeah, so I'm saying, look at vocational only potentially, because look, I'm not. You guys know the politics in Great Barrington. Is there enough new here to change the electors voted it down twice.
Jennifer, does that help understand what Patrick was suggesting?
Asking, I don't understand it. He's assuming some knowledge that I don't have, and I don't know how many other people do either. I certainly do know that we voted it down twice, and that it's going to be a tough sell, but I don't understand it specifically what he's advocating.
I'm absolutely not advocating for anything. I'm seeing this for the first time. I'm simply brainstorming and suggesting that, that the proposal that prioritizes vocational is the one that is most likely to pass and most likely to do the most good for South County. This is the big hole we have in education in South County is vocational offerings. And if we wrap it up in a project that adds, 30 or 40% to the taxpayers and they voted down again, it would just be unfortunate. And I don't know what the other alternative is. I am absolutely not advocating for this plan or any other plan. It's just my quick read is it's going to be a heavy lift.
Can I just ask a question here? Because I think what you're saying, we just had a vote on combining the academic programming of both Mount Everett, of Southern Berkshire, and Berkshire Hills, and that was a resounding no. So the idea of moving all academic programming to, were you thinking South County? I guess I just want to understand what you're saying, that you think, I understand what you're saying, you think that the taxpayers won't support it unless it's exclusively CVTE, but I just don't even know where the academic programming for Berkshire Hills would go.
All good question.
Donna, it might just be worth restating at this point that the task is to design a building that meets the educational programming at Monument Mountain Regional High School that was submitted as part of our application to their program. So any substantial change to that would essentially mean we wouldn't be moving forward
with
on the
MSBA
current model, right?
Right, with MSBA. I think we're new to the team, but I think someone else had just mentioned that there already was a proposal to do something different with the district, and that failed. But Christy's 100% right. MSBA has invited you all into their program to support this comprehensive high school and CVTE with these CVTE programs for 485 students. So we understand that the cost has gone up significantly from the last time. and that it will be not an insignificant lift to anyone. I know we're working on ways to be creative, but the cost of construction in reality is much higher than where we were. And the other part of it is that MSBA is unable to keep up with the pace of the escalation in construction. So that just means there's more burden on each individual district. But I think that we will continue to explore ways to reduce the cost, not significantly, but taking advantage of incentives, whether that's through MSBA for green schools, through Mass Save, which could contribute a couple $1 million, and maybe even some federal opportunities. And then this other comment that Rebecca brought up about the full service community school, and we can certainly look into that and see what that might bring.
So 2 more comments have popped into the chat. One from Sharon Gregory. The last high school reno was for 700 students. I thought the cost would be less than presented since we are now targeting for 485. I think it's 480. Maybe it's 485. The CVTE seems to be adding a lot to the cost. So maybe there's a way to segregate those costs so that it doesn't load up the total costs and make it more difficult to get this passed. I would just like to make a correction. The last renovation project that went to the towns was not for 700. It was in the 500, some 550.
It's like 570 or something.
Yeah, it was definitely in the 500s. So I just would like to make that a point of correction. Rebecca Gold, who is a co-chair of our outreach committee, her comment says, I think the charge for the community is not to come up with additional theoretical plans. That is what derailed the last vote. We are being tasked with supporting whichever plan is voted on in the fall of 2025. And I think that she's right in my comments to again point out that the MSBA is asking us to create a plan that meets the educational plan as it currently exists at Monument Mountain. And that's the path we're on. And Donna, I think very, she did a good job early on in the presentation laying out what will happen if we do not pursue partnership with MSBA in terms of just repairing the building as it stands. So.
Maybe we'll give it a couple more minutes if anyone has any ideas, but we appreciate all of these thoughts and being, open and transparent. Our goal is to obtain as much information we can to be able to make this as successful of a project as possible. Vivian.
Excuse me, I might not recall, I might not recall correctly, but I thought that I heard that in the process with the MSBA this time, there was some discussion about the number of students for the new high school. And there was the discussion between the merging of all South County towns, and that didn't work out. So then we needed to just estimate for the existing 3 towns. And then the question comes up, how many choice in students we are going to have, because the choice in students are paying an absolutely absurd and decades-old amount, about $5,000 for each student, whereas the cost for us to educate our students and then to pay for the proportion of the building costs is different than subsidizing students from outside the three towns that are responsible for the construction costs and the operational costs. So perhaps certainly not eliminating this plan, but what would be the savings in terms of construction if the number of students that you were building for was brought down to those that are demographically assessed for the towns that pay for the construction. And I think that is something that might be worth looking at, because I remember the two previous failures, and one of the big issues was that Great Barrington residents, which were the ones who rejected it, did not want to be taxed to pay for all these other towns, which basically could spend, $5,000 on Choice Inn and get the benefits of what local residents were paying many, many times more for their students. So that could be a glitch that would be important for the architectural planning. At this stage, it shouldn't be a problem, I don't think, to shift the number of students accordingly. And as I recall, MSBA even was advocating fewer students if it wasn't going to be a merged Southern Berkshire district.
Thank you, Vivian. Danisco, our team was not involved in the enrollment discussions, and maybe it's probably best if we could just get back to you on that.
That would be
Christy
great.
and Rob, does that make sense? Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I do. I do. And in theory, that makes sense. I think that the numbers of opt-in or school choice students might not make as much of a difference as it might be perceived, but without continuing, let us get the actual facts for you, and we'll make sure that this is one of the frequently asked questions, and we'll address that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. I know everyone is probably ready to shut their laptops for the summer. If any, maybe we'll just stay on for a couple more minutes, but you can always go to the monumentbuildingproject.org. Victoria, just correct me if I'm wrong, but I think people can enter their questions there as well. Ask questions, suggestions.
That's right. Right at the top, there's a connect with us link, and you can submit any questions that you have, and we'll get back to you in a timely manner.
Oh, awesome. And we'll make sure that frequently asked questions are updated to all of your questions. I'm sure so many more people have the same questions. So all of these are really helpful to make sure that we're as clear as we possibly can. Paul, would you like to?
Just one comment about Vivian's comments. Do you know if a decrease in the number of students would significantly change the cost of the building?
Yeah, I think what we'd like to do is just explore this a little bit more with the district leadership to understand how many school choice students are there and what that impact might be. It might not be as much, or right. So let us look into that because we don't have that exact figure.
All right, thanks. I think it's
but we agree. We
would
we
be a
need to
good
make
idea
sure.
to get ahead of this.
Yes, thank you. We will.
Thank you for your presentation.
Yeah, thank you. Nice meeting you, Paul. All right. Jason, any parting comment? Or Rob?
No, I have nothing. It's been great. I
Great.
appreciate all the community input and every question asked. Thank you all. I really appreciate it. It helps a lot every single.
Yeah, so enjoy your
And
summer.
also, I think it's
Yeah.
essentially this has created a to-do list for me as I'm trying to get up to speed on the issues that are facing the Central Office District. I too was involved in the Regional School District Planning Board research, and I have a comprehensive understanding of the initiatives for trying to get vocational education in South Berkshire, actually going back to 1969. So I now can start putting together the information on school choice, how tuition differs between standard tuition agreements with the districts and vocational tuition agreements with districts. These are very different, or they can be very different. So in any case, I think I've got a homework set for me.
And we will be updating the website with questions or answers to your questions. We'll make sure that they're addressed throughout. I know we have the newsletter that is also here with us this evening. So maybe we can follow up in different ways to make sure that your questions are answered to the best that we can at this point. And we'll continue to look to you all for any questions you may have or clarifications that would help us with making sure that people's concerns are addressed. But it is very early and we're really excited. We think we have some great options and opportunities. And just a huge shout out to Christy and her team, Peter Dillon and his team, and now Rob. It's just a great experience to be involved in such a dynamic community. So we look forward to continuing our work with everyone, and please stay tuned. We'll do our best to reach out to each and every one of you, and please tell your friends and neighbors all about it. And with that, I think we can say good night. Yeah, thank you, everyone. We'll also be posting this. It's being recorded, and it will too be posted on the website. So thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful summer. You probably will be hearing from us, but we look forward to seeing you all in the fall. So have a great evening.